Alright, so I'm Ryan, I'm back for another video. Today I have 5 records that I think are just very underrated, not talked about enough. I kind of based this off of Discogs too, like the amount of wants that a record has, and then also the fact, if it has a recent reissue or really anything. Because some things only have like one pressing and there's not even CDs of it, so. But anyway, 5 records that are extremely underrated in my opinion. So I'm gonna start with this is Billy Mitchell. I really just think that Billy Mitchell, he's pre-Joe Henderson, but he has that sound that Joe Henderson kind of took on, and he also picked up the sound of Lester Young. He's a very underrated tenor saxophonist. He only appears on one other album that I know of. It's called Dizzy Atmosphere, and Lee Morgan's actually on that, and that's how I found it. But Billy Mitchell is a very good, powerful tenor saxophonist, although he's not really in the class of like Coltrane or Rollins. I think that he's really with you have the big band saxophonist, and then there's like an in-between between the big band saxophonist and then the solo, the quartet saxophonist like Coltrane. So I think that's where Billy Mitchell fits in. His sound is very, like I said, it's like Lester Young. It's very airy to an extent, yet it's not too brash like Coleman Hawkins or anything like that. It's definitely really the perfect sound, and Bobby Hutcherson really rounds this record out. I think this is Bobby Hutcherson's first appearance on a record. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm right though. I got a real good deal on this record. This is a promotional copy that I got off of eBay and like some type of lot. This was like the only record in good condition. So this is on Smash Records, which I never really heard of beforehand. I mean, I think that I know a few titles on the Smash, but I don't think they're jazz. But this just blew me away, and there's not much by Billy Mitchell other than this and then Dizzy Atmosphere, which he's not a leader on that album. But this is I think this is something that everybody needs to hear, especially the first track, J and B, which is kind of like the bass line going into that just gets you ready for the rest of the album. So this is definitely one of my favorites. I couldn't hesitate to put it on a list, so definitely recommend everybody go out and try and find this. So then my next one is A Tuba Jazz by Ray Draper. Just Ray Draper in general is very underrated. You have that album with Coltrane. I think there's another Prestige album on New Jazz with Ray Draper leading. I forget the name of it, but this is on Jubilee. And Jubilee is also, people kind of look down on Jubilee. I think it's for the fact that these aren't tip-top quality like some other stuff like Impulse or Blue Note, but I think there's definitely a few records on Jubilee that's worthy of picking up, and I think this is definitely one of them. This is a real clean copy. I got to hear the music for the first time on vinyl. Really surprised me because, and I think that this will surprise most people. I knew this prior, but Coltrane appears on this record, and although it's not really highlighted in the liner notes, I think it's set. Yeah, it's they don't really they don't mention the lineup on here, but they do say that Coltrane had a significant style or something like that on one of the songs. So this is a radio station copy that I got. Just very good stuff here. I think this is a second pressing. I'm trying to remember what the original Jubilee label looked like. I can't remember off the top of my head, but still deep groove, very happy with it. I think everybody else, anything Coltrane appears on is really perfect in its own way because, he has his different stages of his career. And I think their early stage with Ray Draper, I mean, I wouldn't say early stage, but when he was more known, the latter half of when he was appearing on side, like as a sideman, was just, it was perfect because he was getting ready to transition into this, his own I don't know how I would word it, but I guess his own career, not like where he would be a sideman on anything. So this is just an amazing record. Jubilee 1090, his catalog number. Songs on here: Yesterday's, Oleo, Angel Eyes, Essie's Dance, which is written by Ray Draper, Doxy by Sonny Rollins, I Talk to the Trees. But Yesterday's is definitely my favorite. One of my favorite standards of all time too. Paul Gonzalez, probably one of my favorite. I wouldn't say one of my favorite saxophonists because I have a few others in front, but his version is definitely my favorite. And I forget the name of his record. I think it's just a self-titled on Jazzland. If I had that, I would have put this on. I would have put it on this list too. But sadly, I don't have that record yet. Anyway, here's my next one, Benny Green on Time Records. This is just, I don't understand it, because anytime Sonny Clark appears on a record, the price is just like jacked up all the way up here, and I don't understand it. But this is a record that's fairly inexpensive, and yet at the same time kind of hard to find. It's not real. I don't think this came out in '61, so it's not like in the later '50s where you still got the deep groove or anything. There's no deep groove on this, on any pressing really. But this is a stereo copy that I got sealed for $12 on eBay, and you can't pass that up. And I think the one that I got was sitting on there for a little bit because I had sent an offer, but just the fact that it was still there kind of surprised me, because Sonny Clark's on here, Benny Green, amazing trombonist. I think he did a few albums on Blue Note, but I think it was Soul Stirring. I can't remember. But then you got Jimmy Forrest, who did that crazy record on Prestige, Into the Forest, and then George Tucker, who's just, he's got his own style that really complements certain songs, but sometimes, this is just my opinion, I feel like he overdoes it a little bit. But there's definitely a few songs on here where he just shines. And then Alfred Dreris, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I also haven't really heard of him. But good songs on here. Sonny's Crip, Cool Struttin', and then I'm So in Love. Sometimes I'm Happy, It's Time. Then you got Solitude on here, which is definitely my favorite. Just a crazy underrated record. I mean, anything on Time Records is really almost unknown to some extent. There's a title that Terry Gibbs did, which I have, but I don't listen to that often, and you'll know why once I say it. But the pianist on that album is Alice Coltrane, and although she doesn't have the spotlight, it's definitely neat to see her in her early stage of jazz and where she was coming up around that time, because before she got with Coltrane, I mean, I didn't really have any idea what she was doing, but she was with Terry Gibbs, and she was going to clubs and performing with him, and I think a few other people. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but anyway, here's my next record, Mal Waldron, Left Alone, and you may be thinking that this is more known than the other records, but it's still definitely not talked about enough as it should be. The original is very, very expensive, but why I really wanted to put this one on here is because there's a Japanese pressing that there's a seller in Japan that puts up this same pressing, or these same 3 pressings, and the starting bid is only like 99 cents, and that's how I got this. I got the winning bid for 99 cents, and then I paid $18 to ship it over here. So, it's just do yourself a favor and get this record, because I can't explain how this made me. I looked at Mal Waldron differently after I heard it. For one reason was because he's got an interview on here, and you never really hear artists speaking on records or really just, you know, on YouTube, on anything really. So I've always been the type of person to gravitate towards interviews and stuff like that. So I think this record is really perfect for that. And he really explains like what Billie Holiday meant to him. I think it's just called, like, the interview title is The Way He Remembers Billie Holiday. So wonderful contribution to you know, to his dedication to Billie Holiday, and then also his own works, because Left Alone is definitely one of my favorite compositions that he wrote. And I think Jackie McLean's on here too, and Left Alone is just so addicting. I think there was a time where I would play that back to back to back to back. It's just so good, especially the introduction too. Very inspiring. Other than that, other than Left Alone, I can't remember the other songs. Minor Pulsation, Aragon by Sonny Rollins. I think that's how you pronounce it. I can't remember. And then Catwalk. And then You Don't Know What Love Is. I think side A for me, which is Left Alone, Catwalk, and then You Don't Know What Love Is definitely my favorite because it carries on a little bit of the same style. Mal Waldron was very, you know, he could be everywhere. He could conform to many styles. He could play Thelonious Monk. He could do everything. So I think, you know, the separation between songs and sides on this record was perfect because side A is definitely different than side B. I think it's more of a slower pace on side A, I would say. But here's the back. Like I said, this is a Japan pressing, which is why I put it on here. Because if it was an original, you know, it wouldn't really make sense on a list like this. So definitely my favorite Mal Waldron album, as I've said in previous videos. Just crazy stuff here. I mean, any Mal Waldron album is amazing. Even his later stage, his later career, where he was like overseas and doing stuff primarily over there. This is, you know, still good and definitely worthy of being in anybody's collection. So then my next one and my last one is Dinah Washington, For Those in Love. And this is another one that is probably more known than the other three that I had. This is just a perfect record. You know, despite it being a vocal album, the way that Dinah Washington sings, it's kind of like Ella Fitzgerald, well, at least her early career, where, you know, it's like a scatting a little bit. She's still got a very instrumental type of voice where it ties in with the instrumentalist on here. And you have Clark Terry, Paul Quinchetti, Cecil Payne, Kay Betts, who I don't know who that is, and then Wynn Kelly. I mean, one of the best pianists of all time. And then Jimmy Cobb, who I actually did not know was on here until I read it. And then B. Galbraith. I don't know what the first name is because it's just got the initials. But amazing album. I Get a Kick Out of You. Easy Livin'. That's definitely one of my favorite songs of all time. This Can't Be Love. I Could Write a Book. Blue Gardenia. You Don't Know What Love Is. My Old Flame. Make the Man Love Me. This is just, every song on this album is amazing, and it makes this a 10 out of 10, especially because Quincy Jones got all these compositions together, and, you know, his composing back then was really just, it was spot on for anything. He was also another artist who could, you know, conform to any style, so I think that really just, you know, sets this record in a good place nowadays too, for the fact that, you know, he was a part of it. And I think that just within the last month, I'd say that there was a Vinyl Me Please reissue for this. So, you know, I said that, you know, the records on this list may not have reissues, but this is still a very underrated album. And, you know, I'm not seeing that Vinyl Me Please pressing get enough love on Instagram or YouTube, really anything. So, and also, you know, the MRC records in the early days were not the greatest, you know, quality records. I mean, you a lot of the time you see the ones with the blue haze, the tint to it, the scratches, they make a lot of noise. Just very, I I mean, you also got the jackets too. A lot of times you find them in really bad condition. This one's actually in fairly good condition, but you still have the tinning and everything. So, you know, now that that Vinyl Me Please pressing is out, it'd definitely be a good idea to pick that up before, you know, gets kind of hard to do so. I really want to, but I've kind of been calming down with my record buying lately. But this is definitely one of my favorite vocal albums of all time. Every song on here is perfect, like I said. Just amazing, amazing album. Especially for Dinah Washington's catalog, because she had so much stuff. You had the stuff on Roulette, which is also very underrated, and it's definitely affordable too. So, you know, just Dinah Washington in general. And, you know, just while I'm talking in a general sense, I also want to discuss, you know, just some pressings, some eras of labels that, you know, are also underrated. So, for Prestige, I would definitely say that the Blue Trident label, you know, those years tend to be, those pressings are fairly inexpensive, definitely underrated. Like, let me see here. I have a box here that I haven't put these records in a Discogs, but I just got some of these the other day. So here's Sonny Stitt, Nightcrawler with Don Patterson. And, you know, this is not a record that people talk about, yet it's on the Blue Trident label. It's got the Van Gelder stamp. It's got everything you need. And I think this may be a live session. It is a trio. It's Sonny Stitt, Don Patterson, Billy James. I'm not sure what kind of style I would attribute this to, because it's got a lot of different songs. It's got Star Eyes on here, and then it's got All God's Children Got Rhythm, Tangerine, just some amazing stuff. I think this is a live album. I'm not too sure though. But again, this is on the Blue Trident label, very inexpensive. I got this for like $5, so let me see if I have another one in here. Here's another one. Chuck Wayne, Morning Mist, also on the Blue Trident label, Van Gelder stamp. I mean, I didn't even know who Chuck Wayne was before I found this record, and I got this for $1 at a yard sale. So definitely the overlooked pressings and Prestige catalog, you know, they're the Blue Trident labels. So, and I would probably even say the stereo copies of the Bergen Fireworks label, people tend to overlook those, probably with good reason, for the fact that a lot of those pressings don't sound the greatest. But I have definitely like come into contact with a few Bergenfield Fireworks stereo pressings that sound, you know, fairly good and definitely worthy of paying the money. But for Blue Note, I would definitely say, you know, the Liberty pressings, although they tend to, you know, they're still expensive, especially nowadays. Like within the past month, I seen a copy of Pete LaRocca's Basra. It went for like $300 and some, and it was a Liberty pressing. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But there definitely are a few records that were reissued in the Liberty series that, you know, were fairly inexpensive. Like, I would probably say like a lot of Bud Powell records, which, you know, are really good, but the originals are still like $300, $400. For Impulse, I would say that that early 70s Ring, let me see if I can get one up. Yeah, here's one right here. Africa Brass with this this label. These are definitely inexpensive. Trying to think some other like well-known labels that, you know, you could go for budget options. Contemporary, you know, the 70s pressings are amazing. There's one other one I'm missing. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But, you know, just also realize that pressings and, you know, that type of stuff, you can also find some very good underrated and budget reissues and stuff like that, just based off pressings and years and stuff. So, but that's the video. I wanted to just show 5 records. Maybe I'll do something like this again, but, you know, I think the main reason why I did this video was this this Billy Mitchell record, because it really surprised me. This is it's not well known, but it's also kind of rare. But it's something I was playing a lot within the past month. So, I definitely love this record, and I recommend everybody listen to it. You know, even if it's on Spotify, and you know, go on your eBay and put this in the save search. You know, everybody needs this. I hope this gets a reissue. One of the other titles that I was tempted to put on this list was the remarkable Carmel Jones, which is now getting a reissue on the Tone Poet series. So, you know, get that too as well, because that's an amazing, underrated record. Carmel Jones is just an amazing, underrated trumpet player too. So, you know, just the discussion of underrated works, underrated artists in jazz is something I want to like dive into a little bit more. But I think with doing that, I'd like to do it more on an individual basis, like maybe talking about some artists like I.G. Solomon or something like that. You know, a lot of those artists from back then were not, you know, they're not people who weren't up there with Coltrane or, you know, Kenny Dorham, and, you know, those people weren't talked about enough. So I kind of want to bring light and shed light on them too as well, because like I said, just the general talk of underrated works and artists and jazz is something I want to dive into, and I think, you know, just talking about it will bring light to it, and we'll find a lot more records that, you know, we may want to introduce into our collection, and, you know, might be our favorites. So, because these are definitely some of my favorites. But anyway, like I said, that's the video. I thank everybody for watching. And I think my next video will be recent jazz vinyl finds, because I haven't done one of those in a while. So, thank you.